Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Ready, Aim, Retire, the show where we help you grow your wealth, distribute your wealth, and hopefully leave a little bit for the people left behind, and kind of everything in between. And I'll tell you what, Tony. Wow, this summer it just flown by. Me and you had some scheduling conflicts. I was somewhere, you were somewhere.
Yeah.
We actually sent an email out to clients maybe, I don't know, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, say, hey, we're still doing this thing. It's just a conflict thing. So how was your summer, Tony? Like, where did
Well,
you go? Because you went somewhere.
well,
Or did you
like
take a week off, or what'd you do?
yeah, like you, I've been very busy and there's been so much going on, and I know you've had work trips,
Mm.
family trips, a vacation maybe even in there. I know you don't take a lot of vacation time, but you usually travel a lot for work and for family, to see your family or events.
Yeah,
We were talking about you got a wedding coming up,
I do.
you're traveling to Canada, so that's neat. I was in Palm Springs for a week,
Okay, then.
California. Yeah, the,
Uh,
the Mojave Desert right on the edge of the mountains, and it was about 100 degrees for a high. A couple of the days we were there a full week,
Dry
but
heat, though? Isn't it a dry heat out there?
no humidity,
Okay, what's
and
the
you can
difference?
take the tram all the way up to the top of the mountain where it's about 50 degrees cooler.
Oh,
So it's kind of handy.
yeah.
Yeah, that's the beauty of Palm Springs.
Mm.
But a couple of the days it was actually nice. It was 90 with a breeze, and it just I'll take 90 and a breeze in Palm Springs any day over a day 85 or 90 and humid here
Totally.
in the
Yeah,
Midwest.
totally.
Yeah,
Totally agree.
I
Like,
mean,
it's
in
it's
yeah,
sticky, it's hanging on you,
yep.
all right. Did you go there with family or just
Yeah,
yourself?
my wife had a business trip there. She had a conference, a week-long conference.
Oh,
So
perfect.
they put us up in a
Yeah,
really nice resort,
yeah.
42 swimming pools at this resort.
No
So we
kidding.
spent a lot of pool time. We took our 2 daughters
Yeah,
who are both in their 20s. They loved it,
for
right? I
sure.
mean, they're loving this place.
Right.
So, yeah,
Oh, that's good, that's good. We do that a lot. Natalie piggybacks on a lot of my conferences and things that I have.
well,
That's the way to
sure.
do it. You get the room anyway, Tony.
Yeah,
And, if I'm gone all day, she gets to enjoy herself, which is kinda nice. I'm sure,
and
you got to enjoy yourself with the
oh,
kids
yeah.
running around.
Yep. Well,
Yeah.
the girls were in the adult pool tanning, having some drinks.
Yep.
Sarah was at her conference. I took the rental car and hit a bunch of record stores.
Of course you did. Of
Did
course
some
you did.
record shopping, or just lounged in the pool that's right outside our room. You walk out the room and there's a pool there
Yeah.
that hardly anybody used. So we were in that a lot.
Nice.
So yeah, that was
Yeah, I like
nice.
that. Yeah, I
Yeah,
like that.
and you've been busy, but we're back, and it's
We're
great.
back.
It's
I
great to be back.
you know what, Tony? I missed you. I was telling Katie today. I'm like, oh, me and Tony, we're back. We're back in the game today. She's like, oh, what's the show on? I didn't tell her, but I do want to highlight two things I did this summer, Tony.
Okay.
First one, I ran with the Bulls in Pamplona. I
That is
ran with the Bulls
insane
in Pamplona, Spain with
and
Jay
survived.
Guerin. Survived. Scariest thing I've ever done in my life.
Was it actually scary? Because the photos I saw, I didn't see any bulls in those pictures. I just saw you looking panicked running. I don't
Uh,
know.
no, it was scary. So like these bulls come up, like you get about a mile, right? So we were 200 yards up from where they enter this, you know, it,
Sure.
it goes down these city streets that are tiny. So me and Jay thought we were super strategic. So we got this spot where we thought it opened up a little bit. And when the people came running down, um, the look on their face, Tony, kind of scared you more. And then all of a sudden, the bulls are coming behind him, and the crowd, you're getting pushed into because a lot of the accidents happen there where you just get mulled over by people.
Right.
It's not even actually the
Or
bull.
shoved down or
You get
shoved
shoved
against a
down, you get
wall. And
trampled, and so we were thinking we were strategic, but we got right in the melee. And then there was 12 bulls that come flying by,
wow.
and they were massive. So it was, super fun, super cool. So we did that. My second highlight of the summer, and we did a lot of fun stuff, but in the essence of time, because we do get some people complaining that we have too much fun, Tony. So
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't,
They
I don't
want to
want to
get
smile
to
too
the
much. So,
financial stuff.
right. But my second highlight is Natalie and I, for our anniversary, we went out to Montana, and we stayed at this amazing bread and breakfast. I'll give them a plug. It's called the Bitterroot Ranch. Unbelievable. But I will tell you this. I would never stay at a bed and breakfast. Natalie totally tricked me. So she said we were staying at this lodge. It's great.
Yeah.
She showed me pictures, and I'm like, oh, this is fantastic. I can't wait. I would never have gone because I just don't like that kind of stuff, right?
I don't either.
So we get there, and we pull up, and it's beautiful. It's in the mountains. It's as nice as it could ever be. And Dorothy, the one of the owners, her and her husband Lynn own this place for many, many years. She's standing out front, and I said, "Oh, that's interesting. They greet you when you come in. That's kind of cool." Not realizing it's a bed and breakfast. So we go in.
Natalie tricked me.
She totally tricked me, and so we go in, and I'm just kind of like, obviously, once I realize what's going on, that we're not just getting checked in here. We're all here together. I was kind of like, oh my gosh, how's this going to go? And I will tell you this, it was probably the best, I can't say the best ever, but like one of the best trips I've ever been on. Dorothy and Lynn, the people that own this place, they made it unbelievable. This Dorothy, Tony, if you ever go out there and you want the best breakfast you'll ever actually get your hands on, every day it was like a smorgasbord of different items. Like there's caramel French toast, which was like to die for. It was just unbelievable. So I have to give them the props. I have to give Natalie some props for tricking me, because I would never know. And I even said to her, I go, you know what? Someday I could go back to that place. It was that fun. So
wow,
those are my two highlights of the summertime. Tony.
Sure, that's good.
A lot of great things, but those were my two best. But they're bed and breakfast out there in Montana, and obviously they're running of the bulls.
What was the name of the bed and breakfast?
It's called the Bitterroot Ranch in Montana, kind of like about an hour and a half south of Missoula. So we fly into Missoula. It's out by this town, Darby. We did fun stuff like fly fishing and hiking and all that kind of stuff. But but Dorothy and Lynn were the highlight reel.
Yeah,
like, they were just awesome. The nicest two people you'll ever meet. Like it was just like comfortable. It was just hanging out or whatever, and they did their own thing or whatever. We were gone all day, but yeah, it was pretty cool. It was awesome. It was I'll plug bed and breakfast now. I would never do that.
I'm the same way though. I've my wife and I once did the bed and breakfast thing, and I've had friends that do it. And we live in a town, Stillwater, a beautiful river town, old town, and there's these old Victorian homes, huge, that are bed and breakfast that used to belong to the lumber barons, and they're beautiful. And I've been in them. I have a lot of friends that stay at them, but I would never. It's just like. Yeah, it's like, oh, there's other people staying here. Oh, we have to eat with the owners. It's like,
right.
I'm like, no, I do my own thing, right?
Me too. Like, I just want my own zone. Like, you're doing stuff through the day. Just want to chill. But and you know what? In I guess like there was nobody else staying there. It was only Natalie and I.
Oh, that's good.
So they had two other rooms, available, but they hadn't been booked. So maybe that would have been different. I don't know. Like, I think it probably would have been different. Like,
sure,
you have like 4 other people sitting at breakfast, like, or maybe I'll become friends because like I would consider those guys friends after spending 4 days with them.
That's true. A lot of people make friends that way. Honestly, I've heard that. So now this show, the Big Beautiful Show, we're calling this today. I've got to use my hands. The Big Beautiful Show. It's going to be huge.
Right.
This is very bigly today, right?
Very bigly today. Tony, as you know, I don't get into politics. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go through what I think is probably I pulled out the pieces that I think my clients could benefit the most from knowing this, because you see all the stuff on the news and all this kind of stuff. So I kind of just broke it down, just a few items that I think are kind of important and are kind of good in this bill. There's when you look at anything, if you look at the bill, there's trade-offs. So there's trade-offs that we'll go through. There's obviously a deficit trade-off. Like that doesn't get mentioned too much, but like, at the end of the day, any cuts you kind of do, they have to be offset, so if your deficit is increasing, that's probably not a great thing. As far as I'm concerned, maybe that gets offset with tariffs, and we're not going to get into that whole, can of worms today, but we're going to go through what I think is some positives that came out of this bill.
That's good. Yeah. There are a couple of big things that I love.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
There's some really good ones. Yeah. So I would say the first one, and the one that we were most concerned about, as a firm, because we deal with, I would say 80% of our clients are coming into that retirement zone or in the retirement zone. So taxes count. Taxes count. Like people, you don't realize how much taxes are important until you retire and you're paying them, over and over again. So they extended and expand the 2017 Trump tax cuts. So making most of those provisions permanent. So our concern was, like depending on income, that they would get a tax increase, and it never happened. So they kept them the way they were. They have the single standard deduction, the double standard deduction, expanded that a little bit. So it kept it the same for businesses and for individuals. And there wasn't a surprise of, lowering business tax, which was also like, it was talked about of getting it down to 15%. And although you could look at that saying, okay, well, they'll hire more people and stuff, it's working right now, so if it's working right now, it's like if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So I kind of like that part of the bill, that everything kind of just stayed the same, most of them becoming permanent. But we know permanent government, that'll just get repealed.
Put it in quotes.
Yeah, put it in
They
air
made the
quotes.
tax cuts permanent.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So nothing's really permanent, but again, I think it's a big positive for our clients. The next thing I want to focus on is the Social Security.
Yes.
All right. Because Social Security, oh my gosh, like rolling into this, like what a buzz. Like it was this, it was that, it was this. So
they're going to completely eliminate Social Security taxes, is what we heard before the bill got passed.
Yeah, no taxes on it. And people concerned they were going to claw back benefits and, all of this kind of stuff. So let's talk about the tax deduction, Tony. So you mentioned it. So they've come up with, they didn't eliminate Social Security taxes. What they did is they gave individuals a $6,000 deduction and couples a $12,000 deduction. But let's look at the caveats in there. So the caveats in there, one of the positives is you don't have to be taking Social Security to get this deduction. You just have to turn age 65.
Yeah.
So those that
it's for anyone 65 and older is going to get a bonus standard deduction of $6,000 per person. That's huge.
That's massive. It's massive because you're already getting a $32,000 plus standard deduction at age 60, where we all get it. But then at age 65, you get another $3,200. So
if you're a couple, it's $1,600. Yeah. At age 65. So I did the math on this.
Yeah.
It's about 31,000 standard deduction for a couple, right?
Yeah.
Then if you're a couple and you're both over 65, you get an additional 1,600 each.
Mm-hmm.
Then now for the next 4 years, you'll get an additional 6,000 each, or 12,000 per couple. So that means, Rob, a couple is actually going to get a standard deduction of $45,500 if they're 65 and older and are making $150,000 a year in tax adjusted gross income or less.
Right, or less. Right. So how good's that? Like for my clients, like I looked at that, I'm like, this is the win. Like there's a bunch of stuff in there, but that to me is the biggest win because most of my clients aren't making over 150,000 in retirement, so they're going to get all of that, and what do you do with that money, Tony, when you're not paying taxes with it?
You spend it.
Right.
Yeah.
You go do fun stuff. You either buy things, you go on a trip, you do this, and then
so it fuels the economy. That's the win right there. And it also eliminates, Rob, doesn't this solve the Social Security problem? Because now, because of that extra $6,000 deduction per person, it's going to drop the majority of seniors into the area where their Social Security will not be taxed.
Totally. And that's kind of what it's doing. You're getting the $6,000 deduction. So if the average Social Security is $24,000, and let's say you're paying 10%, that's $2,400. You're getting $6,000. You take it as a deduction, so you don't just get a pure $6,000. So it's kind of solving that without saying there's no tax on Social Security.
Right.
You're kind of doing that.
They couldn't change the laws for Social Security. You can't make changes for Social Security in a budget bill. Mm-hmm. There's some technicality. So this is how they got around it. Yeah. And I think this is a better solution.
Yeah, me too. Because like, if you're not taking it, let's say you're still working and you're 65.
Yeah.
Boom. All of a sudden you get this, if you're single, 6,000, married, 12,000, you get this like dumped on your lap. That's going to help you out because you're probably in that save mode for retirement. Or if you've retired and you've used us, we do a lot of that Social Security maximization to pick the perfect times to take it. and maybe you're not taking it right away, but you are retired. Okay, great. We still get this bonus deduction. So that's huge. And like you said, Tony, if you're single, it kind of starts to phase out after the age of 75 or at the income of 75. And then with couples at 150, and then it goes basically away if you're single if you're making 175,000 or as a couple, 250,000. But I don't have a lot of clients, to be honest with you, Tony,
No.
that are making $250,000 in retirement, and some of them could, but they don't need the money, so
Right. So they're not
actually don't.
taking that much each
No.
year out of their IRAs or things that would be taxable.
Right.
So what that does is it really helps people. And what I like about it, this is geared toward the middle class because it phases out. If you're making tons of money each year in retirement, you don't need it. That's why I like the fact that it does the two things that I want the government to do. Is it helps middle class with the tax burden, and it
Mhm.
helps seniors. I
Right.
mean, that's what we needed. That's probably the best part of this whole bill, in my opinion.
I agree. Like the Social Security enhancements that they did that one. The other one that they did, Tony, was they did so there's a COLA on Social Security every year, and currently it goes by the CPI, which is basically the regular workers like us. So what's our consumer price index? What does that look like? When you retire, you get other costs in there. So you have medical all of a sudden becomes bigger, and I
Yeah.
think, like whether that's your Medicare payments, your part, your part B, your part C, your part D, whether it's those payments and they go up every year, the one that comes off your Social Security, the part B goes up every year. And that's not included in that calculation. So what they're doing is I'm not sure if it's become official yet, but they're toying. They're more than toying with it. They're going to start using what they call CPI-E, which is more gauged to seniors. So when they start doing these
Oh,
cost of living increases, they're going to start using their metrics, not the greater, the people in the country, because everyone's kind of, in a different phase. And when you get into the medical, they're going to look at medical. They're going to look at housing closely. They're going to look at if food costs and things like that, and it's going to have a different number, which from everything I read is going to be a higher cost of living increase. So if if it averages 1.9% over history, maybe that pushes it to 2.1. It's not going to be like double or anything, but it's going to be definitely another helpful thing for seniors to help them, get through this retirement puzzle, right? So that's
right.
another fantastic one. So the
That's
tax
huge. I
rate.
hadn't heard about that. That's if they can make those cost of living adjustments higher for seniors, because I always laughed because they're based off of, oh, it doesn't include food or health care. It's like, wait, it doesn't include groceries and health, the two main things that
I know.
seniors.
Right, like it doesn't. The
Yeah.
transportation, it X's out all of this stuff, and like I work with people all day, every day, so I see what Medicare increases every single year. I see what their supplements increase every single year, and then the one-offs of, hey, guess what? This isn't covered, so this is coming out of pocket. And we have clients that, they have like certain medical challenges, and they have to pay $500 a month or $600 a month for a certain pill that's not covered by Medicare, or their supplements. So this could be very, very helpful. The other thing when we talk about Social Security, is the big buzzword out there, Tony, is the solvency, right? Oh, it's running out of money. It's
Yep.
running out of money. It's been there since the beginning of time, folks, by the way. It just gets more airplay once in a while, because
Yep.
it sells clicks and it sells commercials and all
Well,
that kind
yeah.
of stuff.
I mean, listen to this, Rob. I mean, how serious is it when they use this guy's voice?
Here's another truth. Social Security is dying.
I haven't heard
I
that.
mean, the gravitas. It's like, wow, when you hear that, you're like, "Oh my god, Social Security is going
You
away."
have that button ready to go. And we didn't even discuss what we were going to discuss today. I'm going to tell you.
Nope.
Folks.
No, but I do say on the positive side,
God bless Social Security.
God
Okay.
bless Social Security, right?
Looks like Tony's got a whole new set of buttons over the summer vacation, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
So here's how they're tackling it, Tony. So currently, the way Social Security tax works is you pay tax into Social Security just like you do Medicare. Medicare currently has no cap on it. So Medicare, no matter how much you make, you're always paying into it. But Social Security has a cap. So currently the cap is $176,000. So you make, over 176,000, you actually don't put in anymore. You don't get taxed on it. So what they're going to do is they're going to phase that upwards over the next few years to get it to 250. So again, that will help out because you have a gap of, there's lots of people who make 250,000 and they don't pay tax on that. And they still get Social Security, they still get the benefit, all that, that kind of stuff. So I think that will actually be one of the stop gaps that kind of, helps with, the solvency and things like that. It probably stretches it out. They'll also do things like, I'm 54, so they're going to say, Rob, mine currently says it's 67. I'm full retirement.
Yeah.
I fully expect by the time I get there, Tony, it'll be 68.
Or even 70.
Yeah, it could even be more.
I mean, you're a young pup. By the time you get there, it's probably going to be 70.
Well,
you got a ways to go.
I plan on working till 90. So
yeah, that's true.
So
it doesn't really matter for you.
No.
But seriously, though, in all seriousness, somebody needs to. They can't keep kicking the can down the road either.
Right,
I mean,
right.
It's come to this point before in the 80s, and then they fixed it. They've made adjustments. They raised the full retirement age. They may raise the amount of Social Security tax taken out of your check by a hair and that your employer pays.
Mm-hmm.
And they might take the limit off of how much of your income is subject to Social Security tax when you're working. So
yeah,
a combo of those things will easily shore up the Social Security system. Sure. It's just who will do it. And I think it's a smart thing because you could run on the fact that I save Social Security. Mm-hmm. I don't know why they keep kicking this can down the road. They need to, but they will. They'll deal with it. Yeah.
And they'll solve it. And those folks, just so you know, the current extra tax cut you're getting on Social Security, the deduction of $6,000 for singles, $12,000 for couples, that actually expires in 2028. So you have 2025 to 2028. And you know what? If I'm running in 2028, maybe that's something I say, you know what, we're going to renew those because that would also be probably a good thing. Whoever, if you're listening out there, politicians, listen to me and Tony. We don't want to be any part of your campaign, but we have great ideas. Just listen.
Yeah, we do. Get rid of the time change, extend those, and make that standard deduction permanent. Yeah,
that's a big one, and folks are going to benefit. So here's the next one that kind of caught my eye in there, and helps a guy like you, Tony, and it helps definitely. A large majority of my clients are here in Illinois. I have them all over the country, but they're definitely here in Illinois. Is they raised the new SALT deduction.
Yeah.
So the SALT deduction, which is your state income tax, has raised from $10,000 up to $40,000. And so what does that mean? So where do you get that deduction? So if you're making income, you're paying state tax on your income. In Illinois, we pay 5%. So if you make 100,000, there's 5,000. And then I have my property taxes. So if you're living in Naperville, you're minimum 10, and just, go up the ladder from there. So you used to be capped. So you might've been paying 15, 20, 25,000 in state taxes, and you could only get a deduction of 10. Now that goes up to 40. Big. That's a game changer.
It's
and
huge.
It used to always be like that, and then, through other, through administrations and every administration has a challenge of what they're going to try to fix and what they're not like, and everyone is the same, and that's why I say I'm not a political guy because I'm really not, so they just have to fix their thing. So this one came back and said, you know what, we're going to raise that thing back up. And that definitely helps, especially, states that have those higher real estate taxes. Like I have clients in Minnesota, where you're at. I got them in
huge state taxes in Minnesota.
New Jersey,
I mean, crazy.
Another big one. Illinois, another big one.
New York,
I have one down
California.
in like Arizona. Yeah, I got one in California, massive. And then I got them in Arizona. Like Tennessee, like paying nothing. It's incredible to me. Like showing me pictures of this beautiful 4-bedroom house that they got for less than they had it here, and paying taxes of $1,500, $2,000 a year. I'm like, oh my
Their
goodness,
property taxes are nothing down there.
it's incredible.
Crazy. Yeah, it is
You get
crazy.
outside of your state and you're just like, whoa, I didn't know this was a thing, but
Yeah, you mean we don't have to pay tens of thousands of dollars a year in property tax?
right.
Go
Yeah.
figure.
So that's a big one. I think that's going to benefit, and that's in effect now. So that's going to, next year tax time, people will be benefiting. You're going to see, because you're not used to getting that extra $10,000 deduction, and then all of a sudden we got throw on this $12,000 if you're married for the Social Security. You're stepping up a lot of deductions, Tony. So and again, I believe the purpose behind that, and whenever you do a deduction, is that we'll have more money in our pockets and we will spend it. And what that does is it keeps the economy going, or spurs it, or gets it running. So I think that's also a very positive one. The last one I want to touch on, Tony, today, because again, before we went on air, I said to Tony that we're doing this one, but this could be, Tony's like, yeah, we're gonna have show after show on this kind of stuff, because this bill is big. It's 1,000 pages. It's huge, and there's a lot of caveats in here. And today I want to just focus on the ones I just know are going to affect, the majority of my clients immediately,
Sure.
and the last one I want to focus on is Medicare, Tony. So before this bill came out, oh my goodness, Medicare is getting slashed. It's going away. It's this, it's that. And again, it is what it is. It's all like different, different ways to sell ads and whatnot, but no changes to Medicare, Tony. None. All right. But Medicaid. So folks, Medicaid, different from Medicare. Medicaid has quite a change in it, and what they're doing is they put a provision in there that if you are able-bodied between the ages of 19 and 64, to get your Medicaid benefits, you have to work, volunteer, or study 8 hours per month, and how do they determine able-bodied, Tony? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I think this is a push, because I know we have clients on Medicaid. They need Medicaid. They need SNAP. They need these things, and they're good programs. I think this is more of a push of getting those people that maybe don't need it, that are kind of taking advantage, and that drains the whole Medicare system. If you're able to work and just kind of, oh, why would I? Which I get. If you're getting the check anyway, and that's coming in anyway, then maybe that's your attitude towards it. But this is kind of aimed to kind of go, listen, just like when you go on unemployment, if you go on unemployment, you can get a benefits extended and things like that, but you have to prove, hey, guess what? I've been looking.
Yeah.
I've been looking, and they will extend it because that's what it's there for. It's there to protect, our citizens, right? Same with Medicaid. It's there to protect our citizens. So if you get in a bad spot, you're not able to work, then we cover you, right? And I think it's probably been taken advantage of, just like everything else, just like every other program. It doesn't
For
matter.
sure. Every program has some amount of people taking advantage, but
Sure.
I wonder if this might be a problem that didn't need solving, because Medicaid, especially Medicaid,
Yeah,
that's really that's the majority of people utilizing Medicaid are completely disabled or
totally.
long-term care.
Mhm. And they need
I
it.
personally don't know anyone who is on Medicaid who can work. Now, I'm
Right.
not saying that there are people who have their Medicaid benefits for people who might not be doing well, and so social services in a state is allowing them to get some Medicaid to help with one thing or another. But
Mhm.
typically, it's medical or health related, and typically you can't work. Like my mom's on Medicaid, but
Right.
she can't perform any daily activities on
Right.
her own at this point. So
And I think this is more targeted, like they specifically put in there the 19 to 64-year-olds, right? So,
yeah,
and I don't know, like I'm not an expert on it, the fraud in
yeah.
Medicaid. I have no clue, right?
Yeah,
Um,
I don't either. I don't either. So, but if somebody's able to work, they shouldn't be able to live off of a government subsidy,
right. If they're
Uh,
able to, and it might, who knows what that looks like. I just found it interesting that was, that was in there. And I found it interesting too, that Medicare was never touched, and they're
yeah.
more focused on this.
And Medicaid wasn't really cut.
No,
So,
no,
yeah.
it wasn't cut
Yeah,
for anybody.
and Medicare wasn't touched at
No.
all.
neither of them were cut. Like when they
Yeah.
talk about the cut, they're not cut. They're saying, and who know how, like, again, I put in my notes, I'm like able-bodied in quotations. Like, what does that even mean? Like
Yeah.
the I'm sure that's a broad net, but anyways, it's at least, for our clients, it's more important to go like, okay, Medicare wasn't touched. That's the biggest thing. Social Security, some enhanced benefits for sure inside of there. The SALT tax, very good for
Yeah.
most of my clients. And then the extending the current tax law, so all of those are positives. We'll have a show, Tony, though. We will focus on the negatives, because you have to have the yin and the yang, and there's definitely some negatives inside of there. But
Well, sure.
I thought for my first show back, we'd hit the highlight reel on that.
Yeah.
We'll see what we're up to next week. Maybe we hit the low lights, for people tuning in. But I think all of those that we went through today are pretty positive.
Well, any bill, it's a 970-page bill. I mean,
Right.
it's longer than most Stephen King novels, which are long. So, the thing is there's gonna be good and bad. There's gonna
Yep,
be things
for
in there
sure.
that are good for one person and horrible for another. In a 970-page bill, you're gonna have things that aren't good. You're gonna have things that are great, like the bonus standard deduction for
Mhm.
seniors. So yeah, you got to take the good with the bad, and we're trying to take the partisanship and the bickering out of it,
Yep.
and remove, the administration or the political party from it, and just look at it for what it is.
That's what we want to do
I
on this
think
show.
that's really
Yep.
important. I'm glad you're doing that,
Yep.
Rob.
And we'll
Um,
cover more of the other, again, you said, like, 970 pages. All of this isn't even out yet.
Oh, no,
Like,
but and there's translations coming too, like
right.
clarifying, like the
Right.
Medicaid thing. I've heard one talking head say one thing that it means.
Mhm.
I've heard another say another thing, and experts say this, and another expert says that. When a big bill comes out like this, it's not like just because they say something, then they clarify, and that clarify actually can change the whole meaning. So,
Totally.
it's going to be sorted out over the next year. We'll
Yeah.
still be hearing about the big beautiful bill and what
Yeah.
it's doing.
And
So,
what and yeah, when and if it's, because you do have deficits and things like that we talked about earlier. So all of those things, we'll just give you the facts on this show, and again, we'll get the facts on, what this actually looks like from a deficit standpoint and things like that, as that information comes along. But we'll also provide you the highlight reels, because these are super positive for a lot of people. So
yeah, they are.
yeah.
They are. Some good things in there. Well, Rob, you did a great job of breaking out some things that I think people need to know about that will affect people's lives. A good show today. But before we go, let's let our listeners know if they have more questions about this or want to get a financial plan in place or a retirement income plan in place or get a second opinion on what they have. How can they set up that no charge, no obligation consultation with you?
Fantastic, Tony. Yeah, they can give us a call direct at 630-780-1099. Again, 630-780-1099. Or you can go right to our website at apadvisorsgroup.com. And that provides a ton of information. You can book an appointment right on there too. We're coming to the end of summer, Tony. You know what that means? The procrastination is over. So we get
Oh,
extremely busy from
I thought
September.
you were gonna football. I
Yeah,
thought
oh
it
yeah,
meant foot.
football's coming, but, like, usually people, they push things off as much, and then
Sure.
September comes and they're like, "You
Yeah.
know what? We gotta get this done before the end of the year," and then we get extremely busy. So if you're
Yeah.
out there listening and you're a procrastinator, give us a call now before the lunch rush hits, because it definitely gets busy around here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Again, the number is 630-780-1099. That's 630-780-1099. Pick up the phone, give Rob a call and the team there at Advanced Planning, because they love to hear from you. I know, Rob, you love to hear from the listeners and the viewers.
100%. Yep.
And that does it for today's episode of Ready, Aim, Retire.